Fox News alert at the top. IRS official who invoked the Fifth Amendment earlier today and refused to answer questions before the House Oversight Committee may be called back to Capitol Hill to testify. Now, this bombshell development comes to us courtesy of Chairman Darrell Issa, who argues that Lois Lerner waived her Fifth Amendment rights by delivering this opening statement. Let's take a look.
I have not done anything wrong. I have not broken any laws. I have not violated any IRS rules or regulations, and I have not provided false information to this or any other congressional committee. And while I would very much like to answer the committee's questions today, I've been advised by my counsel to assert my constitutional right not to testify or answer questions related to the subject matter of this hearing.
All right, so was this a major legal misstep on the part of Lois Lerner and her attorneys? Now, a number of congressmen, including South Carolina's Trey Gowdy, they actually believe it was.
She just testified. She just waived her Fifth Amendment right to privilege. You don't get to tell your side of the story and then not be subjected to cross-examination. That's not the way it works. She waived her right to Fifth Amendment privilege by issuing an opening statement. She ought to stand here and answer our questions.
So she makes a statement, she takes an oath, she makes a statement, and then she says she's asserting her Fifth, and you say it's a waiver? That she can't do that?
I think you have a great argument under Brown versus U.S. that it is a waiver. I mean, if you could do it the way she wants to do it, then every defendant would come say, I didn't rob the bank, and I'm not going to answer the prosecutor's questions. And that's not the best way calculated to get out the truth, which is what we want to do. So we'd all in life like to get out our version without having to answer anyone else's questions. It's just not fair, and I don't think it's legal, and that's the reason I raised it with Chairman Issa.
This is probably one of the dumbest things that she could have done, and her lawyer, who I know probably advised, because you think about it, is that all she had to do was to go in there, take the Fifth, leave the building, and she could have said the same thing on the steps of the United States Capitol. Everyone in the media would have followed it. We would have all been replaying it, and then she wouldn't be in this position where you guys are thinking about going to court to compel her to testify as a waiver.
That, or have her lawyer read her statement or post it on Facebook. She had a lot of options, but she didn't choose any of those. She came, as you noted, to our committee hearing under subpoena, took the oath. She had already warned us she might invoke, and then she testified. I mean, what she did was testimony.
Well, it looks to me like the IRS has got something to hide here. The White House has changed the story of what happened and what they knew and when they knew it about half a dozen times already. And it's clear that this appears to be a pervasive problem. As I said last week, I'm not interested in who's going to resign. I'm interested in who's going to jail.
Do we really need a special prosecutor to now look into this and how high it went, especially when we had the IRS commissioner testifying this way back in March of 2012?
Can you give us assurances that the IRS is not targeting particular groups based on political leanings?
First, let me start by saying yes, I can give you assurances. As you know, we pride ourselves on being a non-political, nonpartisan organization. And so what's been happening has been the normal back and forth that happens with the IRS. There's absolutely no targeting. This is the kind of back and forth that happens when people apply for 501c4 status.
You sure you didn't talk to anyone at the White House about this issue, Mr. Shulman?
About singling out conservative groups for special scrutiny?
Well, that's what we're talking about, isn't it?
I'm absolutely sure I did not talk to anyone.
118 visits. It didn't come up in a casual conversation after 132 members of Congress contacted you about it. You sure you didn't bring it up with anybody at the White House?
Not to my memory.
What would be some of the reasons you might be at the White House?
The Easter egg roll with my kids.
I just want to be clear. You're very aware of the fact you're under oath today.
Yeah, very aware of that.
You went to the White House 118 times. One of the key subjects you talked about was the implementation and the enforcement of the Affordable Care Act, targeting of groups who came into existence because they opposed the Affordable Care Act, and you never brought it up in any of those conversations and all those visits to the White House when this was a major topic of conversation.
No, I did not. This happened on my watch. I do not accept responsibilities for all the actions taken by all of the people outlined in the report.
Well, I am deeply disappointed in your answer. Sir, can I get...
No, you can't get back to me. I want to know. He just whispered something in your ear. What did he say? This is just so frustrating to me. You know, the whole question here is, we've heard this from time to time, just about accountability. And in all the scandals, we hear the same thing. Wasn't my job. I don't know. It was the other office. I was recused. I didn't find out about it until you found out about it. Where does the accountability begin?
You knew this before the election.
What's that?
You knew this before the election.
Sometime in the spring of 2012.
Okay, that would be before the election, I believe. You did know there was an election going on that year.
Excuse me?
You did know there was a presidential election.
I'm aware that there was an election.
You still don't know that this was political.
Excuse me?
You still don't know that this was political?
I defer to the Inspector General.
Well, I'll tell you this, Mr. Shulman, your predecessor said that he wasn't sure if it was partisan, and that requires the listener to be as stupid as the speaker.
Sir, you misled Congress. You misled Congress. Make no question about it. You told us one thing when you learned that our suspicions were true, when you learned that there was a list, you did nothing.
You've never had any conversation with respect to this subject, the subject of this hearing, with anybody at the White House, though you were at the White House 118 times. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, just so I'm clear, I have no memory. Would have been appropriate.
Did you do anything to verify that the practice, as insidious as it was stopped?
The Inspector General was going to be looking into it, and that's what...
Is it that you can't say yes or no, or you're just choosing not to say yes or no? Can you answer the question, did you do anything personally to make sure that this insidious, discriminatory practice was stopped? Yes or no?
Did you find any evidence that anyone in the White House in particular suggested that the IRS target conservative organizations, or that they played any role whatsoever in selecting the criteria?
No, Mrs. Congresswoman, but in all honesty, we didn't look at the White House. We didn't question anyone as to whether or not they'd received any direction from the White House. And
that specific question was not asked?
That's correct.
In this obvious attempt to distract the American people from what's really important, that being Benghazi cover-up, the IRS targeting conservatives, and the DOJ spying on reporters, the president instead reminded Americans of two broken promises. After all, remember when he signed this executive order during his first week in office?
I hereby order. And we then provide the process whereby Guantanamo will be closed no later than 1 year from now.
We must also question the administration's vow of transparency. Remember this?
Let me say it as simply as I can. Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency. Our commitment to openness means more than simply informing the American people about how decisions are made. It means recognizing that government does not have all the answers and that public officials need to draw on what citizens know.
So let's get this straight. President Obama tries to distract Americans from the current scandals by reminding us of his broken promises. The big long weekend coming up, and a lot of Americans, 300 million of us, are going to be standing around a barbecue. I'm just wondering if he wants the discussion to be about drones or if he wants it to be on the three pending scandals.
Well, we have sort of old McDonald's farm of scandals. Here a scandal, there a scandal, everywhere a scandal. So we're not sure which scandal to even talk about.
Sean, we have investigated the chain of command in the Cincinnati IRS office. Now, keep in mind, when the scandal first broke, the acting IRS commissioner, Stephen Miller, said that the targeting of conservative groups happened at the hands of only 2 rogue IRS agents. Well, already we've identified as many as 6 agents involved. But what we've now learned, thanks to 2 Fox 19 sources connected to the IRS, is that none of these 6 agents have the same direct manager or area manager. In fact, the only common link between all these agents is one woman named Cindy Thomas. She is the program manager of the Tax Exempt Organizations Division and the highest ranking official in the Cincinnati division. And Thomas not only has the only common authority over all these agents. There's one more detail on Cindy Thomas. Remember that progressive journalism group ProPublica who sent the personal information on 9 Tea Party groups? Well, the manager who signed off on that document release, Cindy Thomas.
President Obama made a surprise visit to a a school in Baltimore on Friday, and these kids, you know, these little kids are so much more sophisticated nowadays. Here's the video. Take a look.
Hello, everybody.
Here's our special guest.
Hi.
Hi, Mr. President.
In regards to Benghazi, what did you know, and where did you know it?
Mitch McConnell says you govern by intimidation. Is that true? Isn't it unconstitutional to secretly obtain foreign records of AP reporters? Are Eric Holder's days numbered? Who inside the IRS had the plan to target conservatives?
I think he's in danger of losing his leadership or his ability to lead the nation because people distrust now whether their government's being used for political purposes.
Senator, President Obama, when he told us about the IRS scandal 2 Fridays ago, he said he learned about it on television like everyone else did. Since then, we've learned, Jay Carney backed him up on that. Since then, we've learned that the White House General Counsel actually was at least made aware of it months ago. And then more recently, we found out that President Obama's own chief of staff has been aware of what's going on at the IRS. Do you believe for 1 second that President Obama had no idea that the IRS was targeting conservative groups?
I think the only way we can find out is to follow the paper trail, and that means we will have to do an investigation. I'm concerned, and I think whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, nobody wants to see that bully force of government used against people just because they disagree with you politically.
I do not believe what the IRS was reported to have been doing is an outrage. I believe that the IRS agents in this case did nothing wrong. Let me say it again. You won't hear it anywhere else. The IRS agents did nothing wrong. They were simply trying to enforce the law as the IRS has understood it since 1959. And it is very clear that if the words Tea Party or the name of any political party at all appears in the title of your 501c4, you absolutely do not qualify for 501c4 status under law, and you should be challenged.
Major, the Republicans are pushing forward on this. Is it possible they may overplay their hand and somehow squander what they think is opportunity?
Republicans on Capitol Hill, they're pursuing several investigations right now. You're even hearing talk of impeachment from some of them. Are some of their leaders worried that some of the Republicans may be overplaying their hand?
I read a headline yesterday that said Republicans see blood in the water, that they see a president who's very vulnerable politically. Is there a danger that they will overreach?
There is. I mean, that's what happened to Republicans in 1998 with Bill Clinton. And if all of Congress is focusing on hearings to do scandals, the voters will punish them. They've done it in the past.
Brett?
Predictable. I would have suspended her without pay. The other thing is we have to watch closely, because what they tend to do is they transfer people around and change their titles. With Benghazi, no one was punished for the fact that for 6 months they begged for security and it was denied by Hillary Clinton and the State Department. She says, oh, I know nothing. I'm in charge around here, but that decision wasn't made by me. It's the same with the president. I know nothing. I'm in charge of the country, but I don't know anything about that. Attorney General Holder has sort of the same opinion. I'm in charge around here, but I think I recused myself from that decision. I wasn't involved. So we have all of these people. Nobody wants to take responsibility. And when they say someone was reassigned or fired, we find out they're still in their position at the State Department.